कृपया ध्यान दीजिए. The language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative.
Yeah, back home. And I must say, this is a tribute to the man they call Cyrus Brocha. This is my Arnab Goswami moment when we talk about ourselves in seventh person. A tribute to myself, not slept 38 hours, caught a plane which went very far and all over the place. And then Etihad. And you have some answers to give me at Etihad because I fought for you. I told my family, you're the best airline in the world. We must go Etihad. And it was all good. 3 legs were great. The fourth leg, and this is why human beings shouldn't have 4 legs, the fourth leg was horrible. It was really bad. From Abu Dhabi, we were supposed to leave at 10:05 p.m. 10 by 9:55 everyone had boarded. They even announced everyone is boarded, and then it happened, the tragedy. Nobody would tell us exactly what went wrong, and this is why I say don't attack poor Air India, because everybody's in Air India at some point in their life. Etihad's captain with a strange I don't want to say Ukrainian but East European accent kept mentioning strange things like Mumbai airport may be closed, so we have to wait a while, which I thought was fishy. Why did he suddenly discover Mumbai airport has some closing hours? Then it turns out that they may have some engineering issue. All these things which are not specific, so you have to put your hands up and say what can we do, and everybody says what can we do. And then I found out, because I met somebody who spoke to me and was a colleague of the airline, or he worked in the airline, employee of the airline, and he was very sweet and off the record, who's I can't take his name because his name is similar to Aneesh, who's our guest. And he said, guys, the problem is that they had lots of incoming aircraft, the connecting flights were late, and they were waiting for the passengers. Now my point is, this is not right. I understand late is late, but figure out some other route for all these people. Why should everybody suffer for the cause of, say, 2 people coming in from, let's say, Germany? So here's the problem. We landed up, instead of landing at about 2:30 in the morning, I landed at 5 o'clock in the morning, Mumbai time. I had more pain after that. I don't want to use this whole show to just talk about myself, but I want to give myself 40 minutes today at least, because many things happened. After that, we got the world's slowest what's it called, the baggage clearance guy, the world's slowest guy. I think he's been chosen just to irritate and upset passengers who are already irritated and upset. They wrote clearly on top that only handbag to be screened and bags marked with the X, like in Nazi Germany they mark certain bags with X like a mark, and you put those big bags on, otherwise you don't. I follow the law. I only put my little handbag in, and the guy says, "Kahan se aa gaya?" I said, Spain se via Abu Dhabi. So he said, "Nahi, Abu Dhabi ka flight hai, so you have to put all the bags in." I said, "Likha nahi." Then I explained to him the pointlessness of his stupidity, which is that if you come from Abu Dhabi, having boarded from Abu Dhabi, yes, it makes sense. But if your plane is from some other point and it just goes via Abu Dhabi, you don't touch your big bag. So what can come into the big bag? The big bag goes directly from one plane to another plane. I explained to him. I was crying. And finally, the slightly more English-speaking guy, who was his officer class guy, and I don't want to get into class consciousness here, but once again, I mean, sometimes you wonder why uneducated people aren't thrown out of the country. He came and explained to him that I was correct in saying that although we had come via Abu Dhabi, you had nothing to do with Abu Dhabi except catch the plane. So his whole point of looking at the big bag, it was a waste of time. So a lot of pain, a lot of pressure, and in all this, I didn't go to the toilet for 36 hours. I peed a lot, including in my pants, but the other thing, which I won't discuss because that's what the show is all about anyway. Won't waste the time of the other panelists who are somewhat on time today. We've got lots of startling news, in-house news. One of our treasures, I would say a national treasure, perhaps. The government looks up to him. Mr. Shinde took his name in the swearing in the other day,
Yes.
which was in the morning, actually. I just want to say, Silvery, the greatest Indian that I have met in my life, has finally succumbed to COVID. Now, when I say succumbed, he's
Yes.
alive, but in the sense that he's got it. He's got
He
it. He's
got
actually
it.
got it. Yeah, he got it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
he's really happy because he's been lying about his health, and now finally something bad has happened, and so he's so happy that what he's hoped for finally translates into the truth. And so congratulations, Silvery, wherever you are.
He can
Abbas and
sit
I
home for
have been
real.
laughing our bums off just thinking about how you dodged many bullets with your heart issue and lung issue, but in the end of the day, COVID struck. So Amit, expect him to not be there July, August. This is what I personally feel. It's going to take some time for this young man to put his life together. Yeah. In the
That
meantime,
is
let's welcome Anish. Thanks for coming here. Bored out of his mind, he's playing with his phone. This is what panelists do on our show. He's already texting someone else, "मैं क्या करता है यहाँ पे बैंचोद लोग हैं," and we want to talk about airlines. Guys, so
I was
Etihad is the world number 2 airline. World number 2. Sorry, Anish, please talk. Otherwise, I'll just go
I,
on ranting about my problems.
I was looking at the topic list. I wasn't messaging
Nobody,
anyone.
not even the listeners care about the topic list. Even Amit has given up. Abbas has lost interest. Don't worry. We'll come to that
No.
because I've got geographical issues with Mr. Shinde, who, by the way, Amit Doshi, can my luck get better? He's in my lane. As you
Who?
turn to enter
Yeah,
WIA, that's him. That's it. Sorry, Eknath Shinde. That's him.
yeah,
That's
but
his
that
place. And now there are plastic chairs outside the bungalow on the main road in the lane that
he
we traverse with our cars
he's
for them
not
to
on
sit.
Varsha. He should live in
He's not.
Varsha, no?
He's gone to take the swearing in at Varsha. But now this
Oh,
new thing is whoever becomes CM in Maharashtra, you must have two homes, right? So he's keeping his already given Mantri bungalow, which is closer to my house, and he'll also
okay.
go to Varsha. So he'll destroy the area completely. I'm
Just
now crying.
think how close to power you are.
No, this is what I was saying about Modi vis-a-vis Yogi. If Yogi comes to power, we'll be saying, Narendra Bhai, please come back. It's just, I'm begging for Uddhav to return. I'm okay with Uddhav. The VIP movement wasn't as bad as I thought because now I'm screwed. And
Yeah.
they barricaded up the WIA entrance into the long lane. They've barricaded that.
Oh,
So
really?
you literally have to go one car at a time. It's like a nakabandi for life now. They put
So
there.
that yeah, so I'm sure all of us felt this yesterday, right? The rain was insane,
Yeah.
and so the traffic was insane. And I'm just like looking at these permanent nakabandis on my way home. I'm just like, what is a permanent nakabandi, right? Well, how is a permanent nakabandi a thing? There is one at Nepensi Road, there is one at Hirapanna. Just how is there a permanent
Because when the
nakabandi?
cop goes to sleep, he wants to feel that he's harassed too, even in his sleep. He wants to know that the long arm of the law is tickling your balls from far away and you can't do anything about it. I think that's all there is to it. It's just fun. It's like Bakra for them. Hey, abhi kya karega? Bakra banayega sabko. And they plan it, and that's how they do it. And we suffer. What can I tell you? I've been
No.
saying, ask the British to come back for 2 years. Let's see what colonial rule is like again, and then we'll go back to democracy. Let's give it a shot. But Anish was trying to talk, and you guys keep interrupting him. Please, Abbas,
Yeah,
go ahead.
right.
No, no,
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything
No,
more.
Anish is the most talkative person in the world, the most talkative podcast host I have ever met
Really?
in my life.
So
All
Anish is
right.
here because he has a new show called one of my personally favorite names of a podcast. It's called Anish Thing. Get it, Cyrus? Anish Thing.
Well, if
N
you,
I C H E.
this is your Kunal
Great
Vijayakar
one.
moment where you explain the joke, you stress it 3 times, you go up and down 4 times. It's like a lecture for 45 minutes for one joke, so that everybody's on the same page. Oh, I live with that guy for
Should
God's
we
sake. He's
should
in
we
my
should we
house all the time.
apply a laugh track here?
Yeah, we apply a laugh track, a clap track. Somebody
It's
lead the
ready
laugh
with
track.
Rishi.
He's happy with plants. Amit, he's happy with plants in the audience when you do a live show. Why can't we have someone who starts the laugh? I'm like, no, nobody does that. Even the old days, nobody does that. That's just
No, no,
wrong.
lots of people do that, dude.
No, man, not
So,
anymore.
Do you
Amit, are you
think five
nuts?
people? Do you
You
think
you
five
can
people
see.
actually go? Do you think five people actually go to see stand-up shows?
I agree with that. That's
Hey,
very
Abbas,
accurate.
have you used a
Yeah.
guy, a pal of yours, or when you guys are together and doing like 4 or 5 guys, one after another, do you go and sort of start a cheer just to push the crowd?
No,
Like
no. So
when X is
if there are
on, and
other comics in the crowd, they only laugh at the jokes that don't work because because that's
that's
their
beautiful.
comeuppance.
But that's the
Yeah,
real comedy. I
exactly.
totally get that.
Yeah,
That's the inner thing, the inner culture thingy, which is beautiful.
yeah,
And when you're
yeah.
there dying, you think of that. But I'm saying, when you start with a group, do you sort of
Hmm.
support each other like team players and say, what the hell we'll go in the audience and we'll push the
That
crowd and
happens, yes, and also more often than not, there is at least one loud laugh person
no, I'm not talking about
in
when
the
your name is
audience.
announced and all the guys scream for you.
Hmm.
That's fair enough.
Hmm.
Okay, why not?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah.
post that, as you go into your routine, 7th or 8th minute into the routine, are they rooting for you and just
No,
pretending
but
to
not
laugh at
by the
the
seventh minute. First, second minute, maybe. By the seventh minute, you're on your own.
stand-up comedy and
I
sex?
don't
It's the
think there's
same thing.
any rooting, right? I think it's pretty cutthroat in that sense. I don't think there's
Yeah,
any rooting for it, but at the same time, it's also like, hey, I'll laugh for you, you laugh for me, right?
yeah.
So I'm
No, you're
sure
right.
there's some
I mean,
pitch in
Immediately,
there.
if you're a comic, you
if it's a
immediately.
big event for a comedian, like let's say they're taping their Amazon special, then little bit of
Yeah, of course.
yeah, so yeah,
Hey, so that's the same thing then. Yeah, come on, because that stays for posterity in a sense. Then Kunal is not
kind of,
wrong.
yeah,
But I know what you're
yeah,
saying. We
Mm.
enjoy the failure more. So then the failure happens, we all look at each other, na, like, oh, that's funny.
yeah,
That's a beautiful moment for
Yeah.
comics. And these are the close friends, the close circle, the guys you hang out
yeah.
with, eat dinner with, etc.
But
All right, let's
let's
get back
get
to a
back to
niche thing. Yeah,
Anish's show. Anish,
yeah.
tell us about your show.
Well, firstly, the first episode went live on Tuesday on 28th, and just half an hour back, my sister messaged me and said, "Oh, I finally understood what the name of the podcast meant." So, so that's fine. That happened. Uh, so the show is, like we said, it's called a niche thing. It's all about niche things. It's all about subcultures that I'm fascinated with, ranging from coffee to hi-fi to cigars to shoes to streetwear to pretty much
God, you
everything
can't
like
put me
this.
on this show. There's nothing to contribute except too expensive, not worth it. Get something cheaper. My return will be terrible. This guy's too hep for me.
Having said that, one of the episodes is going to be about watches. Like watches will be a recurring topic, and I think the first episode on watches is going to be starting a watch collection under 20,000 rupees, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I'm really
Awkward
excited
moment
about
in
the
the
show.
show using numbers. We
No,
don't have
so it's
20,000, neither listener nor money. Stop it. Oh, God. That's a lot.
no, it's
Yeah.
a really fun show. I mean, like I think great conversations are happening over there. So I mean, like I think it'll be,
Hey, Anish,
it's different.
can I ask him a question? So,
Yeah, sure.
because my mind is always thinking about the investment or the ROI, RTI,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, return of interest on investment, which is so. Do the watches still have, like in my dad's time, you had these things which you'd keep basically because they sort of went up in rate or went up in value.
Oh yeah.
So, is that
Yeah.
still happening, or is it just a hep
It
quotient
does.
thingy?
It does. It happens at all sorts of price levels. So if you get a very high-end watch like AP or something, that'll definitely go up in value. But in the last few months, Swatch and Omega released a collaboration called the Moon Swatch, which was Swatch's take on the Omega Moon Watch that retails for $200 or $300. It's selling for 10 times the price in the resale
Already?
market
Yeah.
already.
But even I think like you remember those Casio
Yeah.
watches which you used to have
Yeah,
as
yeah.
kids? Some of
Yeah.
them have really held value and kind of grown
Those
Yeah.
in
old
value.
ones in the
Yeah,
80s, you're talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Do you have any hanging around,
If you have
Cyrus?
sleep,
I gotta
if you
check
sleep,
because these were the gifts that came our way,
Yeah.
and I never
Yeah.
wore watches, but the mom would keep
yeah.
it in the cupboard. Check, I'm sure it's
Right.
there somewhere. Yeah.
Again, it's not like it's going to be crazy value or anything because they were mass value
Yeah.
watches. But I mean, like, you probably bought them at that time for like 500, 800, $900. You get like 3,000, 4,000 bucks for it now.
Bro, you're looking at equity scripts right now. You're looking at things when the market is down. It's all
Hmm.
notional anyway. This will cheer you up. If he's telling me I got 10 watches whose value, forget what the value is. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if it's gone up 10x, whatever the
Yeah.
value is, you just feel good. You just
Yeah.
feel a little better.
No, a 20 grand moon spot selling for a lakh or lakh and a half. That's a pretty decent jump.
So I had one thing which I found out. I don't have it anymore, but when I was a kid, I had a Casio Transformers, JV watch that they
Yeah.
had made together. It was a calculator watch which turned into a robot,
Yeah.
and apparently
Ooh.
that
that
has
is cool.
become that apparently is now worth quite a bit of cash.
Yeah. Where
Uh,
is it?
It broke. I got it in the 5th standard. It broke in the 6th standard. I mean,
Hey.
like, there's no expectation of
But,
that kind of
but you
thing.
can't, Anish, you can't predict this, right? I mean, he's talking 3 decades, so you can't predict this.
Correct.
How do
You
predict it?
cannot predict this. Yeah, you
Right.
cannot.
But if you invest in 10 watches from one generation or whatever, you're looking at maybe 2 or 3 winners.
It depends. Now, if you buy a brand like, let's say, Hublot, that's just a crap watch. That's never going to grow in value ever in life. So also it depends on the kind of brands you're buying.
Hublot is not an Indian brand, right?
No.
Okay, cool.
Man, it
but,
would
but
just take a
Hublot's-
Johnny Depp
but,
to wear
but
Hublot
Hublot's-
to a trial or something like that in the pop culture. He hits it out
No,
of the
no,
park after
I
that.
just want to make
mean-
sure that we're really not talking shit about brands that are potentially sponsored. That's my only interest here.
No,
Yeah.
but we are politicians, right? We change our tune immediately. Remember the Indian politician when the guy dies,
Of course.
he was a great man. Immediately, that's the style. So,
Patanjali, the
yeah,
best.
the best. But I don't have a problem with Patanjali. I just have a problem with his homosexual comments that he can cure it. Firstly, that whole take on that.
Hmm.
But other than that, I like the guy. I think he's the brand. He's a
Yeah.
great marketing example, is he not? Let's ask the marketing guru himself. I mean,
Who
he
is the
wears the
marketing
brand
guru?
on his sleeve in his
That-
langot. in
this
a
is
sense.
exactly what Sid from Smarter from Sid also said when he was on our show. That he's a really good case study as to how to equate yourself with the brand and sell yourself
Yeah.
as well as the brand.
You
Yeah.
can't separate him, and he's superb. It's a bit like the early Vijay Mallya, I would say. You know, no, you're laughing, but he was that. If you went for his
No.
parties and you saw the airline and all the flamboyance was also him, it was the
Right.
real deal.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't pay and all is a side story at the end of the day. But the fact is, he was flamboyant. He had all the hot
Right.
chicks coming and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hip guys and the movers and shakers, blah blah blah. So I'm a Patanjali fan in that sense. I think he markets really well. Like I've told you guys before, I met this one guy on a flight who's Stanford educated, who's one of his CEO types,
Mhm.
Yankee accent and like Amit, one of these absolutely like Amit but better dressed. Yankee accent, spoke perfect English, spoke about algorithms and all kinds of things, and I was stunned. So this man knows what he's doing. marketing. He
Well,
puts
no,
on this show. He probably speaks the Queen's English. We have no idea who he really is, but he puts on this show. He, markets himself as this yogi, this swami who's really, flexible and doing this, that, and the other, and going back using the, traditional science, blah blah blah. But I think it's just great piece of marketing. I salute him. Let's get him on the show.
Sure, we'll try.
Then we'll see who dresses less. We'll have a
I'll
who
give him
dresses
a
less
call.
contest.
But I have a question for Anish. Do digital watches go up in price as they get older?
Casios
Very,
were.
very, very few. It'll be a very rare thing. Not really.
Okay.
Are digital watches, as a watch collector, do you consider digital watches to be real?
Oh, 100%.
They do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Freaking complex.
I have.
Digital space.
I was
What
just
a
thinking.
country.
I have the first
Polarized
Apple.
by this.
I have the first Apple Watch, which
Hmm.
technically now should be a vintage
Correct,
digital
exactly.
watch
Okay.
with zero value, though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, they
Because,
changed the script.
I
Right?
have some. In what sense?
Who changed the script?
In a sense, Apple, the whole idea is you can't go back to get better. Like
No,
what
but
we were saying.
for
But, that
vintage value.
But I think as a cultural phenomenon,
Hmm.
the Apple Watch 1 will be cool to have maybe 10, 20 years
Right.
down the line in your collection.
Like they've stopped making iPods now, so I'm sure
Yeah.
iPods will be much more precious now.
iPods,
in-
Anish, we are two Gujaratis on the show here, Amit and
So,
me. What is the
I-
ROI for the Apple Watch? Tell me honestly. I've got a
I
few.
don't
because
think-
my-
I don't think it's really.
I don't think there'll
large.
be ROI. It'll be a cool.
Yeah,
Collector's
It'll be
item.
it'll be a flex to have maybe
Yeah.
20 years down the line. That
but these
that
which
watch
are
one.
made in like the millions, right?
Correct.
So I mean, it's very unlikely.
But
that
how does
this
the
turns
financial
into
value
any
not
kind
go
of-
up and correlate with the value going up as a product which is
There
niche
needs
and
to
hip?
be a sense of scarcity, right? Like, so I'll give you an example. I've been talking to some people about NFTs and hence, the sports cards that you have in the US, right? The trading cards for different sports and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Between the from basically from 1990 to 2007, right, about the 17-18 period, no cards have held value at all because there was such an overabundance of supply in that particular space that there is basically, you can find any any of the greatest players, you can find their cards from that period. You go to stuff which is pre 1990 and there is value held. You go to stuff after 2007, there is value held. But for something to become collectibles, there needs to be some sort of scarcity in supply.
But could that
Yeah,
change
but
30 years down the line when there is a scarcity? We don't know.
Huh?
That
my
1990
idea.
period could be a scarcity by 2040 where people
No,
lost their
because
cards.
they made tens of millions of these cards, right? They made so many of these cards that there's just no chance that, like, if you go really old, right? Like, there are only, I think, there are only like 4 mint condition Mickey Mantle cards or some shit like that, right? I mean, I could be wrong about these numbers, but there are so few of them available. Whereas all of these cards which were made in the 90s, they've published tens of thousands of them, if not hundreds of thousands of them. Same
But
thing
this-
with the Apple Watch. I think
So
same thing
Apple
with
Watch
the-
will not go up in value, but to me, it's a cultural flex to have. Maybe 20 years down the line. Like same with the iPad 1. I have the first iPad, and that thing still works, and it's just fun to see how my iPad has evolved since
Yeah,
then. So yeah.
But what
Basically,
works
I'm a hoarder. I think that's what's coming out.
we are the first. We are the first
some
syllable
call it
without
hoarder,
the.
some call it
the-
collector.
But it doesn't work for the IPL. It works for baseball maybe, but the IPL doesn't work. They keep adding more and more teams. The value is not going down. The values are ridiculous, especially the
But they
values of these new teams that they've put out there on paper.
They're
So-
not at all. Do you know the new NBA 2 franchises, what they're saying they're going to cost each?
How
Each
much?
one's going to be like $4 or $5 billion each.
Damn.
One in Las Vegas, one in Seattle. That's the likely
And-
this. But
And the bidding will be high, as in lots of
yeah,
people.
because Seattle, you have Jeff Bezos, you have Howard Schultz, you have
Oh.
Bill Gates, you have all these people. Las Vegas is
Gautam
Las
Adani.
Vegas.
Oh no. He's here.
It could be him
Sometimes.
too.
Yeah.
Could be him too.
Could be him. We don't know
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah. What about Mr. Shinde? How much has he made on staying with the BJP? Purely speculation, of course. There's no way we're going to know.
But Cyrus, isn't it fascinating that in this whole week that you were away. When you left, we had a
Two
different chief
weeks almost.
minister. The deflections, the
But
resignation,
look at
the
our
change of
luck.
CM, everything happened.
The 1 week we don't run our so-called political show is when all this shit happened.
Yeah,
Because we're waiting
exactly.
for stories, and then Mohit is calling up and saying, "What do we do?" I said, what can we do now? We're stuck in the middle of nowhere. I mean, tell the Maharashtra government to get there.
But
And
this,
it's so funny from a comedy point of view. Amit, it's beautiful. You could just sit and write
I
joke after
know.
joke. That whole Eagleton Resort thing, which only India's taken it to another level. Who pays for these guys? Okay, why did they go to Assam? Why? Because they didn't pay the bills in Surat apparently before that, etc. Is Silvery brought it up the other day? I mean, I just want this question answered. Who is paying the bill for members of parliament or MLAs to be looked after in a resort far, far away from their home state? Okay, whether
Yeah,
it's Bangalore, whether it's Mumbai, we're talking about whoever. There's no answer to that. I mean, we know what the answer is, but like, I
we
want
know
to see
what
the
the
slips.
answer is. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we
Uh,
all know what the
imagine
answer
the
is,
production
right?
guy from the BJP going, "Hey, kitna kaya? Lobster bhi kaya bencho?" In MTV, they used to do that, to embarrass us. Or the appraisal, they would take out the food bills, like, Chinappa, what is this? It's just Cyrus Saukar always had like 8 cokes in one room, because he would call all his friends and, have a little party and at the expense of the company. But they'd expose you in front of everyone. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
but I mean, like, the company shouldn't complain about like cokes, man. I mean, that's a bit much.
No, but
Lobster, I get.
the production guys was getting flack. What happened is he was getting a lot of
Ah,
flack about the accounts not tallying and all that.
ah,
So then he started arguing. So then they said, okay, then show us what the bills are like. So then he started pointing them out. The only one VJ didn't cost them money. Only one. Same. It was tandoori chicken or butter chicken. Tandoori chicken or butter chicken. That's all the bills were. Nothing else. Yeah.
Which is a segue, Cyrus, to our first topic.
Oh,
Sahukar ordering cokes is Airbnb has announced that they're putting a permanent ban on parties in their properties.
where?
It says in all their
Like
properties at
everywhere?
Airbnb. Yes,
that seems
How
weird.
how
There
do
are
you control
Yeah.
that?
the company
There-
temporarily restricted large gatherings at its properties in 2020. Now it says it is permanently prohibiting quote disruptive parties and events unquote, including those promoted on social media.
Okay, so you're talking
Okay.
about really big parties because otherwise 8 people party in a small flat. It's not gonna. How are you gonna know really?
No, and I mean, like a lot of Airbnbs are for like deliberately set up for like corporate events and shit like that. So how are you supposed to stop that? I know, like who
No,
goes
but
and
that will
stays
be
at like a
advertised, right? So
32
then,
seat? No, they have 32 bedroom bed
yeah,
bungalows,
there you
right?
go.
Who goes
Yeah,
for that? I mean, like that's not a thing other than like you do it for like some kind of a hey, let's get all our corporate
So
people.
it
I mean,
says
Mumbai
it's
Mumbaikar will
prohibiting
get lost.
open
32
invite
rooms.
gatherings
that makes
advertised
sense.
on social media, yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's
as
very
well as
particular
as well as
because they also
chronic
make money on
party
that, don't they?
houses.
They sublet it sort of. They can
Yeah,
sublet on that, right? So you can make money. You can knock off your investment into the whole the
No, no,
space in the first place by charging
it's a
tickets.
it's a business, right? I mean, like the idea of party promoter is a thing. There are people like this who exist in the world.
But I think we
So I
should move it
mean,
to the niche show because it's it's for the slightly sophisticated, yeah, to
it's
do that.
what, Cyrus, we lost you for a second.
Sophisticated, you said.
I'm just not worth repeating anything. Keep thinking. Don't mistake me for Premchand. It's not important.
Did
It's
you
whatever
use
said is there.
Airbnb at all when you were in Spain?
So the wife was trying to do all that, but at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I'm with the great Vijayakar, who thinks whether he has money or not, thinks he's Nana Fadnavis's direct descendant. So we
Mhm.
were never going to live in a miserly fashion. And we've got 2 kids, and we need space. Abbas, we know how much trouble we have as
Airbnb,
a
there are
group.
there are really fancy Airbnb
But the
rooms
pricing then
also.
comes almost to the same thing, then it's not worth it. So
True.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
good thing is, the good thing is, so they have this whole system without any human contact, which is great, right? So
yeah.
they'll send you the whole list and all, which is a new world for me. It's like I want my key, but whatever. So it's 5200. I can say the number now was the number to open the main door and hashtag. That's it, right? And of course, Vijaykar has got a number issue, right? So 5200 becomes 5800, 560. Then you're texting what is the number, and it goes 3 times, and suddenly there's some red light flashing like you're a criminal trying to enter, etc. So it was great. Yeah, I don't know why we segued there, but yeah, but
And we
sorry. The thing is that in Spain, wherever we went, we got
mm,
balconies to look out
mm,
of.
yeah.
So being a Mumbai, let's face it, it's a cardboard box. Unless you're really rich, who
Yeah.
can look out of anything? So the
Mm.
wife was very, how my wife is. She's artistic and aesthetic inclined and all that. So it's Kunal. So they look out, look at the church steeples. I mean, it's beautiful. And then people walking, and people are slightly more dignified. I don't want to be racist than they are here. So when they walk, you can look at them without gawking, and it's pleasant. It's just like a pleasant experience. It's not like here the majburi of the guy trying to catch the bus or something. It's a totally different story. It's just a huge difference, actually. Yeah.
Did you
Anyway,
hear the story? I don't remember if you were on that episode where Silvery got his someone stole his wallet while he was trying to catch a bus.
yeah.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
why is it all this happening to this young man?
I
And
don't
firstly,
know.
why would he be catching a bus? I couldn't understand with his 7 cars and the fact that he never comes to work. What bus?
I
This is
guess
all
it was the
fishy, though.
pre-car era when he wasn't
Yeah.
given free reign of the cars.
Or he did it once and got COVID. He'll never do it again.
Okay, we have another
Silvery,
luxury-related
are you on?
topic.
Sorry, I was
No,
hoping he'd come.
Silvery is resting right now. We'll catch up
Okay.
with him soon.
Does he
not
have a
on the
fever,
show.
Abbas?
There's no
Before we
way
make
he's
too much
waking up.
fun, I'm
No,
very
he
worried.
did have
You know my,
fever, yeah.
you know my Devanand story, and God, please forgive me for this. So I was doing some work with Radio Mirchi, and we
Huh,
used to do these bad vignettes and all that. So I don't know, we did
huh.
some 5, 6 on Devanand for whatever reason that particular day, and then they released them, and they released them through the week, and he passed away in the night. And so
Oh,
we're
damn.
playing, and they were really like not. Maybe if he died, they were not in good taste. But oh man, I just don't come back for that. Not that Silvery is in that bad shape, guys. Listening, Silvery is fine. He's a young
Yeah,
man with
he's
a big
fine.
beard. He'll be good. He'll be back in 2 weeks or so. Huh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go on.
The luxury related story we have is Air New Zealand is going to introduce bed like pods in their economy class section. What the pods will be is basically like very fancy bunk beds, but the ticket price for the seat will not include the bunk beds. You'll have to buy them separately in
But it'll be
4-hour
less than business.
installments.
So they're
It'll be
creating a
less than
third class.
business.
We had this.
No,
We
within the
created it.
economy
The
class.
semi. What is it? What was it? Semi prime or something? We had a name for it on Jet. They had this. So you had
No, but
economy.
they
Then
are
you had,
including this in their economy class only, where they'll give
yeah.
you
So,
fancy bunk beds. Yeah.
but it becomes a subclass of the class, right? So it's
But
like
four
between
hour
business.
you have to buy, like, you can only sleep there for 4 hours and then the next guy will come and take it up. Yeah. Because I don't know what the calculation
Is
was,
there a Mumbai
but they're
running
like
this
4 hours
concept?
is enough for relaxation
This
and
sounds like
resting
India.
your mind.
It's
What
not
if-
business class. You're just buying an extra. You're getting a little bit of space for a little bit of time. It's nice and all that, but
Hmm.
whatever. Dude.
What if you
can't give
don't
a-
get up after 4 hours?
Oh,
Yeah.
they'll come-
I guess the
there'll be-
authorities
if the
throw you
person
out
who
of the
has paid
plane.
for you or paid for the next 4 hours is going to
He'll
wake your
wake
ass
you
up, right? He's not
One of
going to
those-
let you just take
One
his
of those
time.
Rishi will show us. One of those bells will go off. One of those alarms, which means your time is up. Right? Someone should put
Yeah.
Mr. Shinde's house. I think his time is up on this house. Go straight to Varsha now. I don't know why he has 2 houses. Somebody talk to him. Amit, please, can you get on a conference call
I will
with the
let
chief
him know.
minister ASAP?
I will let him know that Cyrus is unhappy.
I'm unhappy. I would pay good money if I had. I would give all my money if I could send them all to Navi Mumbai, and say, now you start there. Because I
wouldn't
feel they
give
need to be in.
all of
they-
my money, but I'd give a lot of it.
No, I'm just saying you got to see the rest of Mumbai. You can't live in Walkeshwar, Malabar Hill, and think, okay, this is my life for the rest of your life. This is our life,
Yours, not
not
mine.
theirs. You moved to Bandra. You're a hardworking
Yeah,
guy.
not yet.
Let's get
not
back to
yet.
Anish's a more interesting podcast, which at least deals with all
Great.
kinds of interesting and dazzling stuff. We talked about watches. What else is there?
The first episode, which is live, is on coffee, and that's been at least well received so far. And I think a lot of the comments were. So we really trashed French press and home espresso and espresso pods and stuff on the podcast.
Espresso pot stuff, but what's wrong with French press? man?
French press is the worst coffee, man. Why would you
Really?
drink that?
From a taste point of view,
Okay.
From a taste point of view, it's gritty. It's got
you can't argue with that.
particles
You
in
don't-
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you okay? All right, but I mean, like you run it through a filter still, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
but that
wouldn't you-
filter is like it's not. It's like a chunny, right?
Okay.
It's really not a very fine filter. If you want to have good coffee at home, you need to do a pour over or a cold brew or something like that.
What about your electric filter? Like the standard coffee machine.
Burnt coffee, burnt diner, American
that
diner
burnt
coffee.
coffee,
Of course
man?
it is. Yeah, it is.
It's boiled. It's hot water going through coffee.
We will do a
So-
coffee session after this.
Alright.
And I will brew
I
some
have
black coffee for
The whole
you.
procedure. I'm just not clear. See, so are we looking at data where you look at a sample study, or you look at data of a lot of people who say, look, I don't like French press as a concept, whatever, and then you have 75% responders saying this out
No,
of
no,
a
it's a
total of
Oh
90.
niche
no.
Or this
thing.
is,
It's
no,
a
no, I
niche
understand that. So this
thing.
is your personal. Then
This
this
is
is like
my
you look at a
personal
song and you
view.
critique it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%, 100%. So my guest on the show is Rahul from Subco Coffee, and he had the same view. So I was like, okay, at least one person is agreeing.
Hmm.
But then I got so many messages on Instagram saying, "Thank you for trashing French press." I was like, okay, cool. There are more people
That's
out there.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're worse than the stand-up
I
comedians.
so
The
I know.
coffee guys fighting each other for no reason. Yeah.
No, I know pour over is considered to be the absolute best, right? In terms of how you can make a coffee. That's the coffee
So,
snob says, right?
so best would be again very subjective, but to do a long
Well,
black
while
cup
they
of
were with us,
coffee.
I would say Slay was the best.
Slay was amazing.
and
They were
still
amazing.
around.
Come back, Slay.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're the best.
Elevate you to number one. Yeah.
where did Slay go?
They were sponsors for a bit, and now they are not
Ah,
sponsors.
okay.
for a
Oh,
bit.
that way.
And they will be
Yeah,
sponsors
even I
again
was
for a
Okay,
bit.
wondering.
cool. I
Our
did not.
sponsors are like how you go around in primary school. You know,
Yeah.
you say, hi, Jyotika, we are girlfriend, boyfriend. Okay, theek hai. And 3 days later, you never speak again. It's like that. It's the relationships. But they were good. They were good while they lasted.
They are amazing.
Coming back to the whole coffee experience, it's one of those subjects where everybody has that do paisa. You know,
100%.
you can start talking about coffee, and you can't really point fingers and say who the hell are you to say anything, because it's tastes and it's subjective, and rich or poor or whatever you're inclined to or not inclined to is basically your thing. But it's really, it opens up like a Pandora's box of opinion.
But the
I must say.
fascinating part is that India is perhaps one of the only countries which is a producing nation. Like, we produce coffee beans, and we also consume a lot of coffee. That usually never happens. Most of the coffee producing countries are not very big coffee consuming countries.
But it's still a bigger country than coffee
No,
country.
no,
Correct,
no, one
but
second.
coffee is
I
really
think it's an
grown though.
urban. It's an
Not
urban
even like
phenomenon.
Colombia and all these.
It was
No,
an,
they're
it was an
dom-
urban phenomenon,
they're
but down
domestic.
south, and there are places where coffee is king anyway, rural or
Yeah,
urban,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
otherwise,
but
for us guys, it's more like an urban thing where, I don't know,
Yeah.
the modern Indian is more coffee and the
But today there
traditional
are
Indian is
so
more chai.
many roasters opening up everywhere.
Mhm.
In smaller cities, forget the metros, right? You have uh I think the best cup of a coffee in a cafe that I've ever had in India is in Jaipur at this place called Half Light Roasters. Nagpur has some really, really good coffee roasters. So this movement is actually happening in a lot of smaller cities as well,
Mhm.
And these are
and
one-off
not just
cafes,
metros.
one-off cafes which are giving you their one-off coffee. This is not a brand
Not a chain.
Not a
chain.
chain. Independent roasters. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
pretty
Amit,
cool. And
let's
if
quit the podcast business and start a coffee business. Get the Jaipur
please do
guys.
not do that.
Or
I get
combine both like Jerry Seinfeld did.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got a place, I've got a location. It's Eknath Shinde's house next to my house. We make that into a coffee bar. Boom,
Dude,
big
Barabar
business.
Hill, top of the hill. I'm sure that
There you
that's going to
go.
be quite a valuable place
And these
to
mantris
do
have
this.
the money for coffee. Kai paije, coffee paije, and that's it.
Yeah,
That's the
but
conversation. Boom.
I've had coffee at Mantralaya. It's not good. Uh,
Why? Niche here. Niche will change everything.
No,
The
no,
next
but
man is
they,
No,
they,
no, wait,
they
right?
give you the Nescafe, man. They give
Right
you like the
now,
machine Nescafe, which is basically
It's not that, it's how much milk and water
Amit,
they put in,
sugar.
brother.
right, right
No, they
now,
put water in. They always
right
put
now,
water in to elongate the coffee, bro, and this just kills it. Yeah.
right now, I
Sorry,
can't trust
Nish.
Amit's taste in coffee. So the Black
He's a
Mantrale
coffee
coffee
connoisseur.
might has just been good. We don't know yet, but we'll.
Okay.
May I just say, in Amit's defense, when you have so much caffeine in your body because of Diet Coke, and I'm telling you, 32 cans a day over 40 years is a lot. The caffeine is blinding. It's pouring out of every ore. There's
Okay.
nothing you can do. Yeah.
So I drink more coffee than I drink Diet Coke, but
there's
and
caffeine in
coffee
it.
has the caffeine has a lot more. Coffee has a lot more caffeine than Diet Coke does. Diet Coke has
That's true.
like 5% of the caffeine that a cup of coffee
Let
has.
me explain numbers to you. When you drink 7-8 cans a day,
I
obviously
don't
the
drink
caffeine
7,
content
8
is
cans a
serious.
day, dude.
We did that every drank 4. That was
When?
what I was with you for 3 hours. The event we did
I,
near the
wait,
airport.
dude, I couldn't get 4 Diet Cokes in that event. What are you talking about? We were at a freaking event. You think you can get 4 Diet
Yeah.
Cokes? We got one.
I think he
each.
asked for 4 times for the one he got.
We got them one each. We got one each, dude.
From one each, let's
Do-
go back to Anish.
Do we ever talk
And-
about the? I just saw the comments. Do we ever talk about the comments?
Yeah, we do.
We
The
do if
producer
they're
will
really
highlight
bad.
them in the second
If
half.
they're good, we
so
ignore them.
a few people like someone said perhaps I'm making a French press wrong. So I would really suggest please give the episode a listen and
Oh
see my
yeah,
take on the French press there.
And for the
absolutely.
budding, and
You're
Shivam,
right.
as your
Well
budding body,
pitched.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Learning.
Anish and Abbas will tell you as a budding bodybuilder, French press is also traditional tricep exercise, which is done by basically, it's also called the skull crusher, which we will show you in later episodes.
How much do you French press, bro? How much?
Oh, I'm very strong. I today, without sleeping, I did 100 and so 27.5 each side, 55, so like 135 pounds over the head for 2 reps.
Oh, I
Just to-
usually do a 50-gram French.
No, this is French press. This movement. French press is close grip like this. Not 50 grams is a lot, bro. Especially for coffee. Be careful.
Let's go into a break, Cyrus.
Oh shit, 10:35. This guy talks a lot. Oh, he doesn't talk. He doesn't talk. He won't say a word. This has gone on for 35 minutes. 10:35. Anish, slow down, brother. It's like a train getting derailed here. All right, we're off to a break. All of us, 2 minutes silence for Silvery. Let's hope he gets better and one day returns in the flesh to the studio. Which I
Sure.
think I was present more than him while I was in friggin' Spain in 5 different parts of it. Yeah. All right, here's the break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On IVM Likes, Abbas, Nehil, and Antrix do a pop culture roundup for the month of June. On Cyrus Says, with Cyrus vacationing in Spain and so not available on the episode, Kajol, Akash, Antrix, and Abbas share their paranormal experiences. On Misconduct, Ragvi and Nisha tell us the life story of Ma Anand Sheila. On The Longest Constitution, Priya takes a look at how the censor board shaped the iconic film Sholay. And on Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav tells us how Lost Treasures, Dynamite, and the Irish Nation are all connected. Just a reminder to everybody, the IVM merchandise is now available. You can go to the IVM Podcast website and click on the shop tab. Check out our first collection of t-shirts. Also, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I'd like to remind you all that it is really helpful for us when you do recommend this show or any of our other shows to a friend. Word of mouth is great for us, and it's really a great way for us to grow our audience and have more people for you to discuss your podcast consumptions with. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening on, and you can also check us out on YouTube at ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. We have a list of the YouTube channels we are on. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Capgemini, Intel vPro, and Intel Future But Now Wonderful. Thank you so much for making this possible.
And we're back.
I just got to tell you this. It's so intrusive, the podcast, because wherever you go now, thanks to the pandemic, we realize we can go online, etc., etc. You can't really avoid it. I mean, you only avoid it if you're literally impossible to be on. The problem is if there are other people around, it's ridiculous. You know, I was just thinking the entire Spain experience, the way they abused me every morning. Because people are trying to sleep. Because the country is silent. No country is like ours. If you talk, people on the road can hear you. It's just
Listen, you chose with your own consent. We were ready. We made those green screen
felt
videos and
guilty. I
everything.
felt guilty because I'm doing nothing, And I said in the morning I'll slip it in for half an hour, 40 minutes, 20 minutes. I thought 10 minutes first. I just felt a little
Just
guilty.
admit it, Cyrus. We were your little
It's fun, dude. Listen,
time
doing
away
the,
from family.
Yeah, doing the podcast is fun. We try and make
I
it
had
fun
no, it
show.
was fun for me, no problem. Except I'm just saying it becomes so intrusive after some time. We have no idea.
It does.
That's why you have to come to the podcast should be in the studio. And Silvery, you must respect that.
No, not right now. Right now,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can stay.
get-
Who's producing
yeah.
the show for Anish? Who's the
Who's
producer?
Aneesh's producer?
It's
Saurabh.
Saurabh.
It's Saurabh, who you
Wow.
probably have not
If he
seen.
sees this episode and sees the three of you hesitating and thinking about the producer, what a lack
Yeah.
of respect that is. Nobody remembers the producer. The captain gone. Oh, God, that's fantastic.
Well, no, so
Anish, don't
I-
smile. You're the worst.
No, I
You're the
remember
guy.
the name.
I remember his
Anish
name.
knows Saurabh. I know Saurabh well, but I didn't know that Saurabh works on Anish's show.
You're the boss. No,
Yeah,
you're being
I
the
mean,
ground
yeah,
Gandhi.
but-
You have to know what's happening.
Dude, we
When I-
flip these things around fairly often. Who's producing what? It's difficult.
That's in
to
our
keep
case
track.
because I've got late Latif and Bimar Pada. These are the two.
I was wondering when you were talking about watches, you didn't make that quip that Abbas, you should take one of these fancy watches.
No, but Abbas, I know your
Have
problem.
you
I
been
just give you
late
the
a
evening
lot?
show.
I thought you were just
No, I
late
haven't.
once.
No, it's just that I've been given that image. Cyrus,
I
please
thought it
bad
was
for
just
me.
once.
Abbas, don't lie.
It was.
Morning is not easy for you. We just put you on the evening
Comment
show.
section will behave.
Put you on the evening show. The
radically.
problem is you can't put Silvery on any show. because every 3 days he's got a heart problem. I mean, it's like, what's going on? He's the youngest guy in the group. In the entire IBM, he's the youngest, should be the fittest guy. Oh, it's very sad, this story. Yeah.
He's
So I
not the
want Saurav.
youngest. Vinay is younger than him, I
There
think.
are many.
He just turned 30.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
Vinay has aged 4 years in 1 year.
That's true.
He's
Yeah.
lost all his hair and he's leaving. He prefers going to VT from Belapur every single day because that job will be less painful for him. So he
Yeah.
thinks.
Aneesh, I should have done this right up top in the episode, but it's never too late. Tell us about what you do and a little intro about yourself.
Okay, great.
Now, we all know what he
Yes.
does.
We're only 40 minutes in, but let's do this. Of course, my name is Aneesh. I run a brand called Swami, hence the
It's like a
snapback.
job interview.
Yeah, what is
Okay,
this?
go
I
on,
hate
go
to be that guy, but what is Aneesh?
Nikhil Rabindra says, I hate to be that guy, but what is Aneesh? I would like
Yeah.
to know why he has a tonic water.
Because
cap.
that is my company
but
that
he-
I
but he-
started. So
No, but he's
that's
trying to be respectful. That's the irony. Sorry, go on.
yeah.
Go
So
on. Tonic cap.
yeah, I started Swami 4 years back, and before that, I used to be a photographer.
So you're a
and
multi-millionaire.
I really wish that was the case.
Sorry, he flipped the company and made lots of money or
Soon to
something.
be,
Is there a
soon to
story
be.
here?
Soon to
Oh,
be.
bloody hell. Why he should be producing his own show and he should be sponsoring our show. What the hell are we doing here? No, this is so
Yeah.
unfair. Thank you, Mr. Rabindra, for pointing it out. He knew that there was something there that's not been revealed properly.
Yeah.
I can tell from the smile. You don't remember your producer's name because you produced enough on your
I
own.
remembered.
He-
Just for the
he
record, I'm the
remembered.
only one who remembers.
None of us did.
Saurav and Sparsh will be standing alone and dancing flamingo or something outside the thing because nobody cares about them anymore. Sparsh, we like you. We love you. I don't remember who you are.
Has he seen you in person? Oh, yeah, he has.
Sparsh has been around
Himashi,
for 2
you've got
weeks
good taste.
before I left.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just wondering if he took over while you were in Spain.
No, he plays guitar and all that. I found out everything about
Yeah,
him.
oh, yeah. Now I remember.
I care about my
Yes.
producers. Hemish says I have a cabinet shelf with Swami. Oh, wow.
Yes, yes.
You've
Good
stolen a
taste, good
fan.
taste.
Our one fan is gone. Our one female fan. Ouch. Okay.
Okay, we spoke about coffee, but Cyrus, would you drink beer that was made from recycled toilet water? Because that's what's happening in Singapore. There's a new brand called New Brew, and it's made with recycled sewage. The alcoholic beverage is a collaboration between the country's national water agency, PUB, and local craft brewery Brewkers.
Yeah.
First unveiled at a water conference in 2018, New Brew went on sale in supermarkets in April.
Well, the way you presented that is like you really care and
pretty
you don't know
popular.
the subject in and out. But moving forward, for me, and I think all three of us may agree on this, the taste is not subject to how it's made really, unless there's some evility involved. So I'm saying that's never going to. I'm not squeamish. So if it tastes nice, you drink it. I would think that would be the number one reason for beer, coffee, the alcohol, spirits, those kind of things. I don't know. What do you say, guys?
I think basically I wouldn't market it as made from sewage water, but water is H2O. It's a chemical thing, right? So
It gets clean.
I wouldn't care that much, but at the same time, I wouldn't if something says it's made from sewage water, I would basically be like, I don't know if I want that.
But
But-
wouldn't that become its USP then? That we clean it up and make it so
But I mean, like,
tasty.
no, because water is H2O.
Right.
Two molecules of hydrogen. Two atoms of hydrogen, one atom of oxygen.
What
That's
is
it.
the greatest? What is the greatest thing in our Sanskriti? What is? And that I'll answer that myself. It's not to be answered. It's a rhetoric question. That is politicians. And one of our finest, Moraji Desai, drank his own urine. So I'm saying, we set our own standards. There's no biggie about all these things. And apparently, there's enough science and data to show that you drink your own urine, not somebody else's.
Yeah.
It's really good for you,
No, it's not. Who told you that, dude?
Moraji.
That's been completely debunked. It's a fucking stupid ass kind of historical thing. It's not good for you. There's a reason
Yeah,
why your
Abbas.
body expels this shit, man.
Oh my God, what have we done? We've created a monster. Amit's going berserk. This is a stand.
Yeah,
This is Custer's
I
last
hate
stand. No more
I-
drinking your own pee, India.
It's dumbassery, man. I mean, like this idea that drinking your own
Why would
urine
you
is
do
good
that?
for you.
Maybe 10 people would have listened to us that drinking their own pee. Come on.
I,
What I look
I,
forward to. I've got Eknath Shinde sitting on my head here.
I would strongly suggest that they not drink their own pee. It is fucking ridiculous.
Give it
Why
a
would they do
try.
this?
It's like French press. Try it once and maybe you'll be hooked. You never know.
All right.
Yeah.
Or you could distill it and then market it as neo water
Yeah.
or some shit.
Amit,
I've
Anish
been
is
told
ducking
Foster's
the
tastes
controversy.
like
He's not getting
piss.
involved. He's not giving us his 2 pence. Huh?
Different view on this. So
Yeah.
so so speaking of taste or smell or whatever, we also have an episode coming up on craft beers very soon that we've already
Well
recorded.
done. He knows how to promote, Cyrus.
Yeah.
He knows how to promote.
But in that episode, we
I'll
also
take
talk
down notes,
about
Amit. What else can I do? I just write down notes. And
we,
go on, sir. Sirji,
in,
rather.
in that episode, we also talk about Belgian beers, in particular lambics. And for a lot of us, when you smell a lambic, which are these
Horrible.
spontaneously fermented Belgian beers, uh,
Horrible.
how I would describe the nose, the smell of it would be sewage. Or, if you take off a band-aid and you have that little pus on it, that smell, right?
That we're allowed to do, but I can't drink my urine. But I'm supposed to take
Correct.
out the band-aid and smell it. I mean, what's going on with our culture?
No, I am not. I'm not drinking that shit either, man. I'm sorry, but no, but
Well, Anish
again,
is saying
but
that
at
you're
You're
least it's
still
not.
pissed about it.
No, at least it's not. At least it's not bad for you. Urine
Yeah.
is bad for you. Drinking urine is not good.
I mean, Bear Grylls is never coming on the show now.
Ayushi Amin is
Oh,
in the
Ayushi,
comments. He's
Ayushi,
saying-
work. It's 10:45 on a Friday morning. Why aren't you working? What's going on with that business there? She's on the show twice in a row. Now she's on the show today. I don't know. Something's up. Yeah. Oh.
We are the background noise for a lot of people while they are working, Cyrus. So yeah, we should be thankful for the people who
Very
listen to
intense,
us while working.
intense work happening in India as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting right here, the chief minister's Bangla.
But I was watching a documentary that Stephen Fry did while he was traveling in America, and he went to this, I don't remember the state, but there was a farmer's house where they did pretty much the same thing. They took the toilet wastewater and they somehow recycled it, and then they could later on, like, it was purified enough for them
For
to
consumption.
drink it. For consumption,
Yeah.
yes.
Water is H2O.
Right.
It's a chemical. It doesn't matter where it's sourced from, right? You can get it by any process which involves liquid that's distillation is done on will produce pure H2O for you.
I think Amit is invested in some recycle water company.
No, it's
Called H2O.
Oh, yeah.
All Swami with a double E. Be careful.
They do that on the space station, right?
Yeah,
And there
they
are
do.
documentaries on
Right,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's fine.
Again, treat it. I mean, I'm not saying that you should. It's basically
Treat it as in treat it to people.
treat it as in distill.
One
Make
sec,
it,
one
make,
sec,
make
stop
it drinkable,
the joke.
right?
Anish has made a joke. You can't just walk away with the conversation. Abbas and I, as comedians, picked it up. We play the room for a minute here. He's made his joke. He has a delivery style of his own. It was very laid back. Fair enough. But I think we should give him a moment. Yeah. All right.
Thank you,
Treat
thank you, thank you. I shall retire now.
it. And now back to the French press.
Okay, so the next topic is slightly serious. Amazon has restricted LGBTQ searches and products in the UAE. They restricted search results and inventory related to LGBTQ topics in the UAE after being pressured to do so by the government, reports the New York Times. Same-sex relationships and sex acts are illegal in the UAE and are punishable by fines and imprisonment. So it's not just India where this is happening, where the government is asking Amazon to control. But
Not to
also in India, Amazon Prime has been kind of censoring episodes of this show called The Boys,
Okay.
which include scenes of
Same
graphic
sex, yeah.
violence,
Yeah.
violence and nudity. Not specifically same sex, but
No,
like
that girl is a lesbo
graphic.
or lesbian, whatever her name is. So
Well,
it's there.
that
It's
too.
there. They have everything.
But yeah,
But aren't you sick and
especially
tired?
given that last year was Pride Month, and on one hand,
This
Amazon.
month, June. Okay, July now.
We're
fair
in
enough.
July now.
But in Spain it was all over, so that's why I
Yeah.
was Naveen. I could take it in.
So on one
Too
hand,
much
you
Naveen.
claim to be an ally, but then in countries where it's prohibited, you're towing.
No.
the line.
I'm a complete ally. I have no time for these morons across the world who sit and make big. I mean, really? LGBTQ? I mean, somebody's sexual preference and things like what? Why is it even a conversation? Why is it important in the fullness of
That's
things?
what
it
I'm
just
saying.
doesn't
So
come up.
do you think
I just don't-
Amazon should
I mean,
fight that fight? Is it their fight to fight?
No, they are thinking from a business point of view because the businesses are run by the Maliks who own that particular place. It's not a
Right.
democratic institution.
Mm.
We pretend to be democratic, but they're not. They're clearly not. So so they're worried that they have to shake hands and do business in a certain way. So from a purely Machiavellian point of view of how do we do business, we have to figure this out. So they wind their way through it. Maybe okay, but I'm just sick of listening to these stories and all about people who are living 300 years behind the rest of the world. I mean, come on, really, we've got enough real issues to deal with. I mean, always going to go back and say, hey, he's a man humping another man. I can't bear it. Okay, fuck off. It's over now. Just get on with it. Enough is enough. Yeah. Sorry, Anish. I know your feelings are
No,
different. if you
I
can't sell
think
the watch.
so. I
Same
think
feeling.
your question comes down to, or basically this subject comes down to this, right? Local laws vary, and should companies that are international companies, should they follow local laws, or should they follow laws of the countries that they originate in? This is fundamentally what the tension is
Yeah,
over
yeah,
here,
yeah.
right? And I don't think that there's an easy answer here, right? Like, so for
There's no
example,
easy answer, but you can
well,
wear
so
the cap
Google's
of
not in
business
China.
first. If
No, no,
I'm
but
wearing
see,
the cap
Google,
of business first, it's an easy
uh
answer.
no, but so Google's not in China, right? Google is not in China. Now, is that a net good or a net bad,
It
right?
didn't happen
Because Chinese
overnight.
people don't
They
have
tried to
access to
negotiate.
Google.
They tried to negotiate. It didn't happen
It
overnight.
did.
But
It
they were
did.
dealing with a such a fascist reality after
Yeah,
some time that
yeah.
they couldn't take it. Okay, but they tried. So I don't know. I'm just putting out there. If you're a businessman, you're
No,
trying to do business. It's always that. You're not trying to get into the
there.
whole change the world thing. That's secondary, sort of.
No, but
Uh,
but this is the question, right, Cyrus? That I mean, like, you have a set of values. I share that set of values. I think all of us share that set of values, more or less. But these values are not clearly not universal, right? I mean, like, we can see that in our own country. Forget other countries.
Yeah.
So if they're not universal values, if you're a business, what are your, like, some things are beyond the pale, and you'll be just like, no, I'm not going that far, and fuck it, we're not doing it. But some things you'll also be like, no, you know what I mean, like, it makes more sense for us to be available than not. So is the answer that should Amazon exit the UAE? Somebody just said that, exit the UAE. Should Amazon exit? I mean, it's a worthwhile question to ask.
yeah, but
I
the
don't know the
UAE
answer.
to some extent is democratizing itself at a seriously decent pace also. So I
But
would hang in there. Because you're talking about certain people with certain ideals and whatever, which sooner or later will get. I have full confidence that all these ideas will be overturned at some point, because people across the world after some time will say, this can't be the thing we talk about all the time, and just just stop the press because
but
some guys want to have this kind of relationship or whatever. So I'm just thinking that in the fullness of time, they'll come around.
but I,
You've got to
I
be
mean, like,
positive.
what is the fullness of time? In the long run,
Yeah.
everybody's dead, right? So what does the fullness of time mean?
You're asking me to play God. I love the role, but I've always thought God is a female, so I think I'm miscast to begin with.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
just want to
No,
put
but
that.
I mean, like, the fullness of time, is it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years,
I mean, how
20
can we
years,
answer
50
that
years?
question,
What
brother?
is
How
it?
can we answer that question?
No, so
I'm,
but
I'm
then does
saying,
that should that
see,
not have an impact on your
I
decision to do business in a country?
I am
I am very
convinced.
cynical in these regards. I think we are going backward. I mean, when I say we, I
No,
think
no, no, no,
majority
no,
of the world.
no,
Because
no,
I
no,
mean,
no.
if you
Please
take
understand,
the
we are not
take the
bound
Roe
by
v.
race,
Wade
religion, and we are not
decision, right?
bound by all these things as much
when
as you
when
think.
Obama became the president, I thought, okay, America's done with this shit. The black president, check. Then they legalized same-sex marriage. I'm like, check. Now the next logical thing, of course, will be they'll elect a female president. That did not happen, and since then everything has been going backward. And I mean, I don't want to say anything about our country because, but in many ways, as a comedian, I also feel like I had way more freedom to say things 8-10 years ago than I have now. So this whole idea that you have
I
that
don't think that's fully true, Abbas.
ultimately in the
There are
long
some
run
holy cows
there are progressive,
you have to watch out for. But there's
right?
plenty more grist for the mill in a sense for you. There's many things you can look at. You can find ways to twist you just have to be a little more innovative. I think we sometimes overreact to everything. Definitely that there
I
are
don't know,
causes
there
of
is a
economy
line
reasons,
between
but
innovation and being clever and then being scared about what to say because it will have repercussions.
don't worry.
No, that's
The
clearly the
internet will
case
allow
right
you to
now.
change your name and face, and you can still say what you want to. So don't worry,
Sure.
we'll figure it out.
No, but
Okay,
that's
Rabas.
clearly, it's clearly the case right now in India. It's clearly the case in the US. It's clearly the case in many parts of the world, right? I don't know if I would go as far as Abbas in saying that things are going backward, because I think that you're seeing a lot more resistance to it. And I think what's actually happening is the last of
I'm
reaction to things which are making certain types of people
But I
I
uncomfortable.
am
still think
more
the people on
I
the
am
other
more
hand have
worried.
more power than the ones who are protesting
I
Yeah,
don't
in
think.
can I say
most
something
I
cases.
which I
Tell
think
me.
Yeah.
you'll attack me for? I'm more worried about the far left going berserk with the woke culture than the far right. I think the far right has not changed in 100 years, or rather the right. Let's just call it right, not
Yeah.
far right.
Mm.
Left and the farish left, the ones that go into this whole woke thing. Rowan Atkinson just released. Somebody asked him a question and he said, "I don't understand. Comedy is based on victimization. In
Mhm.
comedy, you do have a victim. A joke is about someone being a victim. That's the essence of comedy. Very often that
Right.
is." You could
Yeah.
whatever you want to say about it, that is you're trying to bring down an institution or a person or a personality or a breed or a tribe or whatever. So I mean you can't. So the left scares the crap out of me more right at the moment because
I
they've started to become more aggressive. I don't know if you
so
want to agree with.
I don't know if I agree with that 100%, but I do feel like I feel like it's not. The problems are on all sides. If you're looking at India particularly, right? we do have a wokish culture in some ways, which is problematic, but at the same time, you're saying shit like Tista Setalvad, Zubair, all this stuff. This is nuts too, right? So I mean, like, where is the
No one's giving a pass to the right. I'm
yeah?
saying we expect this from the right. They've not grown. This is
But
exactly what they do. The
so the
left has
left is
become
trying.
bigger
When
and
you
the
expect
vilification.
it
No, but
from the right, then they keep pushing
no,
that
no,
envelope,
but
right?
see, the left is
You can
so
write the
again
script for them.
to
What's different? It's the same
to
thing,
Abbas
singing the same
to
song.
to Abbas's point, right? While the left is in some ways, they're anti-freedom of speech, and like there are issues there without a doubt. The right's the one that's putting people in jail.
Yeah,
The right's the one that's bulldozing people's house
Because they're in
without
power.
without any
that's
kind
what
of
I'm
due
saying.
process.
We
No.
can
So I mean,
change
like,
that.
well, I think it will change because
I
I do
hope so.
really do think this is the last gasp. I feel like this is their last
Solzhenitsyn.
kind of feeling in terms
Think of
of.
the Russian writers in the Soviet Union behind the Iron Curtain. Yeah, just figure out a way to reach people and
Mm,
sort of fool the government at the same time. Just think of it as a test. There's no other way to think of it. We've got to be positive about these
yep.
things. And you do it because I'm bored and old. And I'd rather scratch myself and watch the cricket, which is starting today. You should mention it. We have a
What is
fifth test
starting?
match.
I know there are
The
questions about it
leftover
in the
test match
comments.
is on today. If India win the
Oh,
series,
the
we're
one
going
that
to 2-1 up.
we
Yes,
abandoned because we wanted to start the IPL.
yes, I did
I
agree.
remember
Yes.
that one.
Yes. No,
I
because
do
the three
remember.
players had COVID and they didn't want to risk the COVID and the IPL. IPL being
Right.
bigger than anything else. When we were going to beat England in England, first time after 2006 and only third time or fourth time in our history. But
Hmm.
that aside, Jasprit Bumrah, Rohit Sharma and Silveri got COVID from the same source. And both are valuable to the
What was the
nation.
source?
Probably the bus. Sharma is notoriously conjuiced, so he makes his driver take the Prado and drive behind, and he jumps
Right.
into the bus. So he's not there. So basically, Jasprit Bumrah is going to captain for the first time. That's very interesting. So we've got two freaks, Ben Stokes. These are real freak cricketers. Nobody can explain them. They're superstar talents, etc.,
Mm.
etc.
Mm.
Going up against each other.
Do you
Jasprit
watch
versus
cricket,
Yeah,
Anish?
Anisha, you a cricket guy?
Not that much anymore, but
So
Sorry,
used to.
Cyrus.
okay,
he
no,
would
I
have
was just
spoken
trying
by
to
now,
see if
Amit.
there was something there.
If he was a cricket lover, he would have spoken. Like an NBA lover would have spoken when you start talking. No, they won't hold back.
Kevin Durant asked for a trade today in the
What are you
morning.
saying? Yeah.
He asked for a trade because all that Kyrie bullshit went down and they didn't want to give him an extension. So Kyrie opted into his 1 year and Kevin Durant asked for a trade. So
All I know
it's
about
kind of,
Kevin Durant is that he's got a lousy muscularity.
he's
On
the
one of these bodybuilding forums, they were looking at these NBA stars and saying this guy has got he's a horrible physique for basketball and yet so
no.
talented.
He does not
Yeah.
have a horrible physique. He has a great physique for basketball. He's not built like this, but he is.
You
Dude,
see the
he's the
reaction,
best
Anish?
active player. He
That's what
is
happens
the
when you like
best
the sport.
active player. No, Kevin Durant's the best active player. There's I don't think there's any doubt about that. He is the best active player in the
Today I've touched the
Amit, have
court
you
3 or
seen
4
the
times.
new
I
Adam
apologize.
Sandler?
NBA. I did. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was good.
Hey, watch me do a plug now. I plug.
Oh, hey,
I recommended it when I
Harveshwar.
was on Think Fast this week when Varun was out of town.
Amit, the last 5 NBA finals, Harvesh was
Yeah.
your man. MVPs are the last 5 All-Star game MVPs. So in both cases, the same guys. 5 NBA
I
finals,
don't think
5 All-Star game MVPs.
did
He's done his
Kawhi.
research. He's a Parsi. He won't get it wrong.
All right, cool. I'm
He won't
sure.
get it wrong. Be
Could be
careful,
right.
Amit. Yeah.
Let's go to the AMA, Cyrus. We have
Let's
10 more
let's.
minutes.
Yeah.
The first one comes from Aditya. He says, guys, have you seen the recent ridiculous mandates for making mutual fund investments? Everything is made harder for no reason at all.
Yeah, because
I
how are
have
you
no
going to lure
idea.
people
Neither
if
do
you?
I.
No, they've got
Do you
more
have
and more
any idea
obstacles
about this?
coming up. The thing is that I don't understand how when mutual funds are dying anyway and people are not willing to invest, etc. You don't sort of, but I guess they've got their own reasons because whatever. You've got to figure out a way to lure people, the customer, to invest in mutual funds at a time like this. But yeah, we need someone else to answer the question as to why. There are more
Okay, let's go to
obstacles.
the next
I
one.
haven't noticed anything. I just bought some mutual fund like a couple of weeks ago, but the same app that I used, it just
No,
worked.
but
I
it's all
didn't see
about
a
taxation.
challenge.
By increasing the taxation that you're liable to pay, so tax liability
Oh,
goes up.
they're
That's the
talking
whole
about
thing.
taxation here. I thought you said buying. The issue was with regulations around it. But okay, all right.
As far as I know, the problem is the taxation increasing. What did you bring the
Sh-
IVM team from Spain as sovereigns?
Shavik asked, what
Sovereigns,
has you bought
kings,
for us from Spain?
Oh,
as sovereigns, as kings.
okay.
Sovereigns.
So
Huh.
I found a nice powder, which is very good for cracked skin. So if you guys are interested and anybody has cracks in their skin, no
Mhm.
cracks about where the crack is, please, for God's sake, I'm willing to share it with you. But I don't buy things. I'm not a buyer. Aisha's bought some chocolates. If anybody's not diabetic, please put your hand up. I'll bring them on Tuesday when I come.
Okay.
in first impressions. Yeah. What a
Anirban
what a
has a
mean
question
question, huh?
which I'm a little confused about, but he says, you think the BBC or Channel 4 would notice if you make this show a bootleg QI? The read comments, I read comments and see what sticks format has kind of run its course. The read comments and see what sticks format has kind of run its course.
Okay.
I think
All
that's
right.
a
What's
slap.
a bootleg QI?
It's a QI is
Um,
that show for the
QI is
queer.
the Stephen Fry show, no?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
It's like a talk show involving, I think,
So
same-sex gender
Anirban,
thingy. It
first,
starts
thank you
from
for
there.
your feedback, and I think I think BBC would notice if we did turn this into a bootleg QI, and also I respect intellectual property too much to do that, because we do IPs too, and thanks for your feedback, man. Good to know that you are not enjoying the show so much anymore.
What's
And,
a new IP you've launched
but
recently,
we won't
Abbas?
cancel him.
There's a
We're
show
not too far
called
left.
A Niche
There
Thing.
you go.
I kind of I think it's a well
There
done
you go.
show. We have an interesting host on it.
Why did we turn up, Abbas? I could have slept.
I know.
Don't-
Shavik says, Amit, how did the content event go
It was really
yesterday?
interesting. I heard a bunch of OTT creators talk about it. There was a great audio panel hosted by our friend Aditya Kuber from Idea Brew. It was a really interesting panel, a lot of information, and I would strongly suggest going for it next year.
Okay, just want to clarify, Anirban, that QI, we've done our research, quite interesting quiz show where you don't get correct answers, or that's not really a goal. You can answer in any way you want to. So they've copied us because we've been doing this from the beginning, Abbas, if you notice.
Hmm.
We start
Yeah.
at one point and goes anywhere. So, this masturbation format is our thing. We've been talking about it until Aneesh comes with his straight jacket approach to life and talks about all interesting and fashionable things and make us look stupid on a show called the
Anish thing. There we go.
not the listen, yeah,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
There's a question by Hamisha. I can't find it right now, which asked if you can
She's
find
quit
it.
and
Can
gone
you?
to his show.
No, no.
Left
She's
our
asked us the most nightmarish line experiences. She's asked you, except for the one which you ranted about yesterday.
I want to chime in
Night,
on
night,
this.
Yes, please.
Go for it.
just what is
Uh,
the question? I didn't hear you. Nightmarish what?
Worst airline experiences.
Oh God, I've had so many. I can't tell you. Firstly, I don't understand one thing. There was a kid crying and screaming for those 2 hours. One of those 3-year-old kids where you question your humanity because you start thinking of violent things to do with children, and that's not right. That's
I
really
just have
not
a
right.
correction. The question is from Harvey's, and yeah, the
Yeah,
question is about
okay,
the
fair enough.
most
But they
nightmarish
start with an
experience.
H, different
Yes.
gender, different communities, different states,
Yeah.
and different people. Not important. Don't polarize our show.
But Anish,
Uh,
you
I,
were saying.
I have a story on this. I've boarded the same flight 3 times. New York, Bombay, United Airlines. We boarded. We took off. I paid $20 for that Wi-Fi, and
yeah.
and then the pilot comes on and says, "Hey, sorry for the inconvenience, but we have some engine failure, and we'll be making a emergency landing back." Like, okay. Then we are circling the airport because we have to dump fuel. We're too heavy to land. Then we land back in New York. There are fire trucks chasing us. Luckily, nothing happens.
You
We get
switch
out.
planes.
Now, they didn't tell us that switching planes will happen 24 hours later. So 24 hours later, we have 2 aircrafts now going back to Bombay. One is the flight for that day, and one is another flight arranged for us. We finally board the flight. It's been about 4 hours. Nothing's happened. We're still on the tarmac. And then the pilot comes on and says, "Listen, I'm really embarrassed, but the food has not shown up for you guys, so we're still just waiting for the food." It's been a while. Then I think 5 hours go by. We are still on the flight. We then he comes on board saying, I'm really sorry again, but now this crew will be illegal to fly for these many hours. Now we're gonna swap the crew. But don't worry,
Wow.
the crew is here very soon. To the point they asked us to get out of the aircraft again because the crew was taking longer. Some 8 hours later, the new crew has shown up. So we boarded this flight 3 times. We land in Bombay, and they're like, "We're really sorry, but the doors are not opening." And then we waited for hours for the damn doors to open. Yep,
That's not good.
as United
I,
Airlines.
It's
I,
one of those things where you think to yourself, this can't possibly get worse,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
gets worse. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a racist thing, but I have a problem with the whole patronizing attitude. You charge a lot of money, whether it's economy or business class, and during the pandemic and beyond, it's just ridiculous, inflated pricing. And then when you come on, they have this way of talking to you. sir, can you kindly put the seatbelt on? And then they come and show you what you've done wrong. One angle is not correct, or one little bar has not come up 2 inches. And I'm like, really, if the plane's going to crash, what is all this shit ornamental crap that you keep doing and making a big deal out of? And the way they talk to you, it's slightly, they're not rude ever, but just slightly condescending, like, moronic person, moronic G person. It's like that. But, it just gets to me, and especially when they start failing, when you're 2.5 hours in the plane, then the whole thing changes, because now you no longer want to be nice to them. You start getting irritated because the pilot is bullshitting. He just comes on and makes up stories. He's clearly making up stories. First he tells us the Mumbai airport is closed. Now I should have known this. I was thinking, is it closed? If it's closed for so many hours, you would have known this and you would have planned it. It can't suddenly close because they do it for a period of time. Then second thing is there's engineering issue which we hope we can sort out. Hope we can sort out. That gives him time, because the hope is everything's in the air now after that. And then the third thing is about these guys trying to get onto the plane. So what's the real story? The moment there are many excuses, it looks like a lie, does it not? Just look in your own lives when you talk to people. But they start giving you 7 lies. Silvery. Oh, the bus ran late. Oh, my hair is not drying. Oh, I
Why?
might have.
What is this segue?
No, I'm just saying, we've exposed Silvery on the show too many times because he doesn't give us one story, he gives us 13. But he's not as dangerous as an airline. But I'm just saying, I keep thinking I'm a conjuice at heart. I'm thinking, I paid 4 tickets for this plane, and I can't get a straight answer. And the kid is screaming, and you're not stopping the kid, but you're pushing my one. There was a little panel which goes up 3 inches, or where your left elbow can rest, and she wanted me to push it down before takeoff, which was not happening. I said, but when are we taking off? I'll tell you the moment. So I said, but we're not taking off. We didn't take off for 2.5 hours, and the panel remained down.
Can I mention? So I mentioned this on yesterday's episode as well. There's an author called T.J. Newman. She's been a flight attendant for 10 years, and now she writes thrillers. Her first book is about
Landing
hijacking.
planes.
It's about a hijacking, and she's used her experience as a flight attendant to sort of write that. But her interview on Fresh Air, NPR's Fresh Air, is very fascinating because she actually talks about the whole thought process that flight attendants have in what goes into their day-to-day sort of life. Is very interesting. So I would definitely check.
Okay.
I would definitely recommend for
Let me
that
just quickly
people
add
to
before
check it out.
you, because I don't want to sound
Along with
completely-
Aneesh podcast. Anish
and Anish
thing.
will appreciate this
That
because he
episode
travels,
was very,
he
yes.
travels
Yeah.
first class, so he'll appreciate this. There are very nice ones as well who treat you very
Yeah.
nicely and they speak very nicely. There was a guy called Brendan who was really nice on our leg going forward. He was just
No,
was
but
a friendly
it's stuff
guy.
like
And
you.
it
I
makes the
mean,
experience much more
their
fun.
job covers everything from making sure your tea is the exact temperature to knowing how to give CPR when you're out of breath.
But I'm an Indian.
that's-
Once I pay over a certain amount, I need to be treated like a king because I paid too much. Because in our
I love-
culture, once you pay a certain
She does
amount,
talk
it's like,
about
I should be allowed to pee anywhere in the plane. And be like, yeah, sir, yahi pay kar lo. It should be like that because you paid enough. Immediately they should allow you. Anish, what say
Right.
you? This is racism.
I was actually going to say Air India service is pretty good.
I've had
Very good.
Just
Their
to-
personnel work is very good. The problem is the timings and the state of the machinery. That's my-
Timing wise,
Yeah.
my last, I was flying to London, and 2 days before, I'm getting a call from their call center. So I cut the call a few times, thinking they're asking me to do the web check-in. Finally, took the call, and she's like, "Sir, you're flying to London in 2 days." I was like, "Yes." She's like, "We called to tell you the flight is now not going to London; it's going to Birmingham." And I was like, "I've never gotten
4
that
hours, my
call
God.
from anyone. Like, how do you change the destination, right?" And I was like, "So how do I get to Birmingham?" And she's like, "That's up to you." So I was like, "Dude, like, am I getting pranked here?" So I was like, "What's the answer here? I have to go to London, not Birmingham." So she's like, "Either you can fly tonight, which is one day before, or you fly one day later." So I chose one day later. I get to the airport, and I'm anyways irritated because I'm losing one day of something I'd planned in London. And I get my boarding pass, and before he can even hand it over properly to me, I can see that the number on the thing is not what I'd paid for that one window seat or something in economy additionally, and I can see that's not the number. So I was like, "Dude, this is not even my seat." And they're like, "Sir, you've been upgraded," and I've never been upgraded in my life. So I was like, "This is great." Brand new aircraft, whatever. You enter business class, looks like it's from the 80s, but the service is so good. You ask for one drink, they'll give you 3. They're like,
Yeah.
"Take
And they're
it,
always
do
polite,
not bother
yeah.
us again."
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like,
Yeah.
"Drink as much as you want, just don't keep calling us." They're great at that service.
No,
I
I've
can
had
tell you.
similar
Sorry, yeah, go on.
experiences with I've had similar experiences with Air India, right? I normally go to DC, right? That's where my brother lives. Now, Bombay to DC, there's no direct flight. It's a Bombay Delhi DC flight, right? And so not last time, but one or two times before that, when I had gone, what wound up happening is that went to the airport, checked in the at the Bombay flight. They put me on the earlier Delhi flight because they're like, "Why you want to sit at the airport? We'll send you to Delhi. Go sit over there. It's easier, it's faster." I was like, "Yeah, okay, that's good. Why Bombay airport for 3 hours? I go to Delhi." There was a tight connection anyway. It was like an hour and a half connection on Delhi. This was so. I mean, like I was really happy with them, and I like the flight to the Air India direct to the US. I've done from Newark to Bombay, and I've done from Delhi to Washington, and they've been great flights.
I have
listen,
a I have a you- I have a video on YouTube about my Air India Hong Kong Delhi experience, which has over 1 million views.
wow.
If you search Anish Bhasin Air India on YouTube, you'll definitely find that. That's a must watch.
Everybody but Air India has watched it. Is basically what you're trying to say. but I've mentioned this before. I remember one simple things. The lady comes, very maternal, sweet lady or stewardess, and says, "Sir, will you have veg or non-veg?" I say non-veg, and she looks at me with that face and says, "There's no non-veg." So why did you ask me then?
While
It's
you're
just
saying
ridiculous.
this, Cyrus,
Yeah.
Shavik has put in the exact
Yeah.
same thing in the
Oh yeah,
comments.
right. I couldn't believe it. It was like a great piece of stand-up, and she was so sweetly telling me, "But we have to ask now, sir." It was like, what?
They're doing
What's the
customer
point?
surveys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
with that, we've come to the end of the show. Anish, once more, your show is called Anish Singh.
Anish
And
Singh.
where can one find it?
On IVM podcast
Yes.
and
Also,
And the
wherever you want to listen.
producer's
Yeah,
name
yeah.
is producer's
Saurabh
name is
Sharma.
Saurabh Sharma, and we're also on YouTube. So in case you'd like to
Yeah.
see our beautiful faces, the show is also on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify, Ghana, Sawan, everywhere.
Apple
Go listen
Podcasts,
to it wherever
everything.
you want to listen to it. Just
Yeah.
listen.
Abbas. For me, I feel like when your girlfriend finds another guy she likes, I feel Amit has become that. We have no
Dude,
interest
this
in
is-
Anish. Pumped up about Anish's presence here.
This
He's on
is
this,
not-
he's on that. This is a show, and you and me, and of course the erstwhile producer who never turns up, the other guy.
Uh,
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
would you like to give your social media handles, Anish?
My social media handles on all platforms is Anish B, ANEESH, B for Bombay.
Oh, you didn't spell it like Anish, Anish.
That's Anish. Oh,
Oh,
no.
no,
No,
it's
no.
not
My
like
parents are
Anish.
not that.
Okay.
My
Not yet.
parents like me.
Not yet. Once he flips the company is worth 1,500 crores, everything will change. They'll be worried about everything. There'll be ANNNNI. All changes with success. All right, chalo.
And
Okay,
Cyrus,
guys.
your Cyrus Brocha on all platforms.
I have no clue. All I know is I had a horrible experience in the morning. The stupid guy taking so long to let us through. I mean, just ridiculous. 4 lanes
Okay.
went ahead of us. Okay, don't start.
I'm gonna let
All
you
right.
go sleep
Bye.
now.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Bye.
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 Bye.